So Amazon is installing, if somebody wants to go look at it in their own advertising account, sponsored display audience-based targeting, where I can type in buckets of people based on their activity or their behavior or their interest and begin to serve them ads. And they're incorporating additional ad types there. So sponsored display video or sponsored brands video, where I can begin to target these people and serve them an ad for something that they might not know that they want just yet. Which is really an interesting concept on Amazon, where it's like, oh, okay, like I can target active people, I can target runners, serve them this incredibly nifty water bottle, and bring them over. Like they didn't know that they needed this. And that kind of thing, I think, will become more and more popular on Amazon. Amazon wants it to be so. They want people to move up funnel themselves. I think Amazon knows in general, they're a very bottom of funnel type tool. So by moving up the funnel, you see a lot of things that they begin to offer. They're offering Amazon posts, which is like an Instagram style post for their brand. It's an Instagram style post. It's a lifestyle post. They want lifestyle video. They want to show products in use. They want to incorporate more video based advertising so people can see things, see how it's being used, and say, that might be something that I'd be interested in. So I think that as we move up the funnel, there's additional ad types, and one of them is sponsored display, audience-based targeting, where people can go higher up the funnel and target people before they've made that search, before they've landed on a competitor to buy a product. It's a really neat way to maybe have someone add to cart and buy along with whatever else they were looking at that time. So Amazon wants this, so it's definitely something to pay attention to. And I think most brands should be thinking about, how do I move up the funnel and go beyond just my basic keyword targeting?
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm super excited to be chatting with Michael Facchin, who started Ad Badger and is its CEO. So let's dive right in and get the origin story for Ad Badger, Michael, if you could.
Yeah, so for the last 10 years or so, I've been doing PPC as a service for a lot of great e-commerce brands. And I was really lucky about 12 years ago to have a client who was selling on their own URL, but also wanted to jump over and sell on Amazon as well, which was not nearly talked about like it is today. And at the time, they were running the ad type that actually allowed you to create an Amazon listing. And then when you hit buy, you would actually go to the person's Shopify store. And I was like, whoa. And the conversion rates were unreal there. So the origin story of Ad Badger was sort of taking that PPC for e-commerce, which is where I was working at my agency, Search Scientists, and I wanted to create an Amazon-focused software because I was using a lot of advanced tools for Google Ads and Facebook ads at the time, but I feel like Amazon ads was so new at the time. So I wanted to explore what capabilities were out there to develop and build a tool that scratched my own niche as an Amazon marketer. And in 2017, started building Ad Badger, the Amazon PPC tool. And since then, we've built it and continue to iterate on it. And every month we release more features. And I really enjoy watching Amazon advertising get more and more mature. So it's been great exploring Amazon advertising and helping people on Amazon. So for me, I just enjoy the puzzle that is PPC. And that is the origin story of Ad Badger.
Cool. Well, it's always best when can you scratch your own itch and then scratch other people's itches at the same time.
Big time, yeah.
They're all having the same itch. So, clearly Amazon's become the product search engine. People start their product search there in many cases, and it's not so much Google then an organic link to Amazon, or Google and shop around at Walmart and decide you end up at Amazon. So given that, how does that change the marketing strategy for a brand or a manufacturer?
I think so. I talk to a lot of different people inside e-commerce, and I've seen everything from I'm never going to sell on Amazon. They're going to steal my margins. I don't need it. I'm going to exist on my Shopify or BigCommerce store. And then I've seen the other end of the spectrum where it's an Amazon only brand. And I think the most successful clients that I have are ones that don't think like that silo. They're the ones that say, how do we incorporate marketplaces into our overall strategy, which is how do we incorporate Amazon into our strategy? And if they're on Amazon only, then they say, how do I incorporate my own URL into my overall marketing strategy? So the very, very best and biggest and fastest moving and most nimble and successful clients that I work with are ones that don't necessarily think it's an either or, and they're instead incorporating both of it. So once you begin to think about that in that way, where, hey, I'm going to have an internet approach, and on the internet, there is my own URL, my own Shopify store, and there is Amazon. And there are many other places that people buy products. How do I incorporate and prioritize all of these into my overall marketing strategy? And that opens up a whole world for them where they begin to sort of say, we're going to have Amazon product launches. We're going to have sales on our site. We're going to do a lot of different, we're going to have social media branding. We're going to be able to work with influencers. And there's so many different ways to buy that when we think of how do our consumers shop, and most people, they're on social media, so having a brand presence is really helpful. You are able to tell your brand story really, really well in your own Shopify assets, which is really helpful. You can then parlay some of that into an Amazon strategy and vice versa. So there's so many things that we can do when we stop thinking in terms of either or, and we start saying, oh, we're going to be on both, has really helped. So I think the most successful brands don't think in either or. They think of how do I capitalize on both of these and incorporate both of these.
Yeah, that's absolutely great advice. Not only because you want to let the consumer shop wherever they prefer to shop,
Exactly,
but also from a controlling the Google SERP perspective, right? Because if people are going to do product related searches, the more marketplaces you're active in addition to your own domain, right, the more chances you have of showing up. So there's an SEO implication to that as well. One thing that is very different, in the Amazon ecosystem is, obviously DTC brands outside of Amazon don't just use ROAS or ACOS to optimize around, but they have a back-end business intelligence platform that will understand more about LTV. You don't have that quite the same level of information necessarily on LTV within Amazon. So, how should their strategy change for Amazon, given it's a little more opaque? There's some data there, but you just don't necessarily feel like you have the LTV data that you'd like.
Big time. So I do think that goal planning and goal setting should be unique to Amazon compared to someone's standalone e-commerce store. And there's lots of reasons for that. I mean, the biggest one is obviously the fact that Amazon is going to take their commission on every single sale. There is a really interesting quirk on Amazon as well, that your paid advertising will influence your organic placement, which doesn't exist on Google. If you bid more on Google ads, you don't necessarily rank higher organically on Google ads. If you do Facebook ads, you don't necessarily have a bigger organic Facebook reach directly. On Amazon, that does. So you have two major factors on Amazon that really dictate shifting goals. So sort of shifting how we think of things. So that means that, hey, if we get 1,000 orders at a 2x ROAS, or we get 100 orders at a 5x ROAS, it is possible that the increased volume and a lower ROAS on Amazon will actually lead to a net gain of sales, because those ads ran more aggressively on Amazon will actually boost your organic ranking. And that component is so unique on Amazon that I see a lot of DTC brands get into trouble where they say, Amazon's going to take their commission, so I actually want a lower I'm sorry, I actually want a higher ROAS target on Amazon because of that Amazon commission. And that's simply not the way that paid media works on Amazon. You actually want to go more aggressive, actually have a lower ROAS, higher volume advertising target on Amazon, because that'll actually fuel organic sales. So understanding that is vital to setting goals on Amazon, which is very different than setting goals through Google Ads or social ads. So that is one component that really should be discussed as a DTC brand goes over to Amazon, and when they're evaluating their Amazon results and their overall website results, for sure.
Yeah, that's a really key, and it's sort of the opposite of cannibalization, right? It's where you get sort of a halo effect from your advertising. I mean, there are halo effects in advertising in general with regards to brand awareness and all sorts of other stuff. But you make an excellent point about the direct interaction effects between sponsored listings and organic rank within Amazon, and how you end up getting a rising tide as a result of a more aggressive ad strategy. So I think that's absolutely key. Now, speaking of more aggressive ad strategies, something that you can do within Amazon, obviously at the ASIN level, is do competitive conquest, which might not have quite the same immediately measurable ROI as keyword level bidding, but the people are in market because they're looking at a competitive product. So if a brand wants to start experimenting with competitive conquest, there's some best practices around doing that.
Big time. So you said it really well, and there's a lot of nuance there, which is when you go out and target a competitor's ASIN, that's, I'm going into my Amazon advertising, I'm typing in a competitor's ASIN, and I want to serve an ad on that page. What's really interesting about it, people will see that and say, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
What's interesting about it is they've already made another search in order to land there. So if I'm selling water bottles, they've already searched water bottles and they didn't click on my brand on that search result page. Now they clicked on something else for whatever reason. Now I can target them there. So I already know that they're interested. I already know sort of what they searched. So I'm willing to pay a little bit more. On top of that, if they were to click away from a competitor and come and buy my product, I actually have a lot of conversations with clients where we say, well, what is the value of that? It's actually a little bit greater than somebody searching a generic keyword, landing on your product and purchasing, because now we're actually able to take a sale that was just about to go to a competitor and we gain it. So not only do we gain the sale, the direct revenue, but we also gained a little bit of market share because the percentage of sales happening in this niche has just gone up for me and gone down for someone else, which is incredibly valuable. Again, on Amazon, it really is fueled by a positive feedback loop. So this sort of competitive conquest, it is going to be a little bit more expensive. And I always recommend people to keep track of these campaigns, to tag them, to keep track about how much we're spending on them, and to keep track about a unique ROAS or ACOS, ad cost of sales goal for this kind of campaign. So setting goals and setting targets has come up twice here already. So like you want different goals on Amazon on the whole than your standalone Shopify store. And then inside of your Amazon advertising, you also want separate goals for every campaign type you run. So when you're running a competitive conquest, your ROAS target should be a little bit lower. Said another way, your ACOS target should be a little bit higher. And it's absolutely vital. Amazon is a shopping platform. So people like to browse, they like to shop. So it's built in to Amazon. When someone's viewing a product, maybe you might consider this other product. Maybe you're looking at a product, you didn't immediately buy it. Amazon wants you to purchase something. So they're inviting you to sort of browse around. Hey, if you didn't find it and you scrolled down to see another product, are there any of these that you might like? Do you want, a combo? Do you want a product pack, whatever it might be? Do you want it in a different color? Here's some competitors that offer it in some more variated ways. So it's built into Amazon. So not taking advantage of it is basically not playing the Amazon game. So for sure, competitive conquest, while not cheap, is a vital part of the Amazon ecosystem.
Yeah, you make an interesting point, because you don't know exactly how they got to that competitive page, but they could have even been driven there off of that competitor's non-Amazon advertising or SEO, right? So they could have come in directly deep linked off of a Google result and ended up there. And that ability to grab that sale away from somebody else, and if you delight that customer, with your brand, you may have earned a customer for a long period of time through competitive
Big
conquest.
time.
So
Yep.
there's some strategic implications that go beyond pure direct response at that point.
Big time.
So let's take it one level higher than that, right? So obviously you've got your keyword level, then you got your competitive conquest with ASIN bidding, but some brands you also see them fairly aggressively at the category level, right?
Mhm.
Bidding or doing even more aggressive ad units. So how would you rank like the next best thing for most brands to do if they're like, okay, I'm doing keywords, I'm doing competitive conquest, but now I want to start to do mid to upper funnel, and I'm willing to, you know, be even more aggressive for my measurable goals.
Yeah, there's lots of interesting ways to unpack this because you're right. A lot of times, if you're selling a water bottle and you target water bottle as a keyword, it's like, okay, great. And then you go a little bit further. And now I'm targeting competitors' water bottles. As soon as we say, like, well, how do we get more customers into our overall funnel, which is a really strange concept for people to think about on Amazon. Hey, I'm on Amazon because I want direct response. I'm on
Yeah,
Amazon because it's a shopping platform. I'm on Amazon because, I want to have a juicy 10% conversion rate on my ads, not the 3 or 4% that I'm getting on Google ads. Like I'm here to do that.
yeah,
And then as soon as you start talking about, well, there's funnels involved in Amazon too, people sort of be like, what are you talking about? There's funnels on Amazon. I thought it's just search and buy, click buy.
yeah,
And it's actually Amazon wants it to be more of a browsing platform. It wants advertisers to begin to think in terms of audiences, begin to think in terms of categories, begin to think of behavioral groups. So if I'm targeting a water bottle for runners, is going to be very different than the huge, 64-ounce Stanley cup. So if I running water bottle versus, big water bottle that I'm going to keep on my desk all day, these are different kinds of things. And how do you make runners aware of your incredibly ergonomic water bottle that they might not know to search? So Amazon is installing, if somebody wants to go look at it in their own advertising account, sponsored display audience-based targeting, where I can type in buckets of people based on their activity or their behavior or their interest and begin to serve them ads. And they're incorporating additional ad types there. So sponsored display video or sponsored brands video, where I can begin to target these people and serve them an ad for something that they might not know that they want just yet. Which is really an interesting concept on Amazon, where it's like, oh, okay, like I can target active people, I can target runners, serve them this incredibly nifty water bottle, and bring them over. Like they didn't know that they needed this. And that kind of thing, I think, will become more and more popular on Amazon. Amazon wants it to be so. They want people to move up funnel themselves. I think Amazon knows in general, they're a very bottom of funnel type tool. So by moving up the funnel, you see a lot of things that they begin to offer. They're offering Amazon posts, which is like an Instagram style post for their brand. It's an Instagram style post. It's a lifestyle post. They want lifestyle video. They want to show products in use. They want to incorporate more video based advertising so people can see things, see how it's being used, and say, that might be something that I'd be interested in. So I think that as we move up the funnel, there's additional ad types, and one of them is sponsored display, audience-based targeting, where people can go higher up the funnel and target people before they've made that search, before they've landed on a competitor to buy a product. It's a really neat way to maybe have someone add to cart and buy along with whatever else they were looking at that time. So Amazon wants this, so it's definitely something to pay attention to. And I think most brands should be thinking about, how do I move up the funnel and go beyond just my basic keyword targeting?
Yeah, I probably would be remiss if I didn't then ask you about another sort of mid to upper funnel strategy, which would be, influencer marketing within Amazon, which is somewhat unique. And if you've got any interesting stories about how that's worked effectively for brands, I think people would love to hear that.
I think one of the easiest ways So again, there's massive benefit into having an off Amazon presence. But even if you didn't, so like even if you didn't have your own social media team creating amazingly unique and engaging TikTok videos, even if you didn't have that, there are influencers out there who do have that. And I think one of the easiest things to tap into is to use Amazon's feature, which is attribution links and brand referral bonuses, where basically they're saying they're incentivizing you with the brand referral bonus. If you refer us outside of Amazon in any way, we will give you a percentage of your Amazon fees back to you. And what you can do with these links, number one, they're trackable with Amazon attribution. Number two, they give you a percentage of your Amazon fees back. And what you can do where this converges with influencer marketing is you can take this link, which is trackable, and will give you a percentage of your Amazon fees back, and work with influencers to give them just that, so that everyone who clicks on their link will make it to Amazon tracked, and you'll know exactly how many sales came through. You'll get a discount on your Amazon fees for those sales, and you can work out whatever deal you want with an influencer to say all the sales that come through this link, you will get X percentage revenue there. And that is really low-hanging fruit and is, I think, surprisingly easy. I think there's a lot of influencers who are hungry for that kind of deal that people can definitely play around with. The term micro-influencer is used, that they're looking for brand deals, and that is sort of low cost upfront for you because it's sort of the sales that they generate, they get a percentage of. So I really like that tool inside Amazon for brands, brand refer bonus, Amazon attribution links, and send that to an influencer.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that those folks are often already Amazon associates, and that it's sort of like you're looking to replace it with the brand referral bonus? So I don't know. I don't think they can coexist, or can they coexist?
So if someone's an Amazon associate themselves, in my experience, when you reach out to more micro influencers, they're very selective about the things that they will do in terms of, am I going to be an Amazon associate, or am I going to be sort of a lifestyle influencer? And I think if you find a lifestyle influencer, they're a lot more open to those sort of split commission type deals, as opposed to, I'm a professional Amazon associate.
Right.
I don't think that's as popular these days.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, that's cool. So one thing that's quite different in Amazon than those of us who've had to either build or use bid automation within Google is that there's a lot of stuff in Amazon that you can only do via API.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't actually even do it via the interface. And so as a result, it's a question that probably pops into everybody's heads, like which bid automations are particularly powerful once you choose to start using a third-party platform?
One of the biggest things has always been bid optimization. And I've always viewed bid optimization in terms of revenue per click expectations. So, if I generate $500 of sales, from 100 clicks, that means every time this thing gets a click, I generate on average $5 a click. If I wanted a 50% ACOS, that means, I just need to spend $250 every click. I'll generate $5 on average every click, and I'll land at my perfect 50% ACOS because I'll be spending $250 for a click and generating $5 every click on average. That is the basis for what I think is really, really good bid optimization, where you can use that as a dial to sort of say like, I want to get a little bit more aggressive. I want to go up to 55% ACOS. And then I'll sort of get better organic ranking. Or, I'm trying to optimize for performance. I generate $5 revenue every click. I'm going to target now 40% ACOS. I'm going to improve my profitability. So when it comes to bid optimization, that has been the basis of the algorithm that I developed at AdBadger. It takes a look at your 7-day revenue per click, your 14-day, your 30-day, your 60-day revenue per click to try to see if that revenue per click, which unfortunately, as soon as you set a bid, is now out of date, because every click, your sort of revenue per click is either going above $5 or below $5 in that scenario, because you might have a string of many clicks without a sale. You might have a string of clicks that is converting better than they have in the past due to seasonality or whatever it might be. So I think it's always been really important to view multiple time frames and then be very reflective. So my philosophy has always been many micro changes are always going to beat stagnation and then a big change. So what I like to do is I like to change bids anywhere from 0 to 5% per day based off the previous day, and then sort of track that over time. So it's like, are we trending upwards? Let's give it a 1, 2, 3, 5% boost. Is this a keyword that's really unprofitable? Let me give this a 4 or 5% decrease today. I think the most exciting thing now with Amazon bidding is, of course, day parting.
Yeah.
Where now you have a keyword and you basically have 168 more data points, which are 24 hours in a day times 7 days a week. So now you have 168 more data points. And taking that same revenue per click model, you can begin to say, I generate 20% better. Most people generate 20% better during peak business hours generally. Generally, it's from like 8 a.m. to about 7 p.m. People are doing the majority of their sales. The majority of their clicks are happening. And you can say, during this area, I'm actually converting 20% better than average. I'm going to increase my bids 20% during that time. And then most people are pretty stagnant on, especially the weekend nights, from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. People are pretty slow and not converting very much. You can say, I convert 20% lower during this time frame. I'm going to decrease my bids 20%. And what that allows you to do is capture more sales during the peak times and allows you to get a better ACoS during the lagging times, because you're bidding lower during the lag times and you're bidding more aggressively during the peak times. So that's probably been the most exciting thing for me over the last few weeks. And I know I sort of talked about revenue per click modeling and time-based analysis, and then also taking that keyword bid and analyzing it from 168 other data points for the hours of the week, and then zeroing in on the very best times. So the average ACoS during the week is about 28-29%. On the weekends, it jumps up to about 31-32%, which is actually significant. So you can look at that time frame and begin to make changes to your bidding reflective of your revenue per click. So I think the days of like one keyword, one bid are leaving us, and it's sort of more, let's look at some hourly data and begin to make our very best bets during the peak times and the weaker times.
Yeah, no, it reminds me back in the day when it had built its own bid management platform for Google, where we started off with what I would call the heat-seeking missile algorithm, which is very similar to what you first talked about, which is constantly readjusting based on the weighted moving average. And then we layered, day parting on top of that.
Yeah.
Some of the other, factors that still exist within Google and Bing and some of the other platforms that haven't showed up in Amazon yet are geography, right?
Yeah.
If you start to get granular within geography, there are some pretty significant differences.
Big time.
And so, and device type is another one, like treating mobile differently than desktop. And so I'm curious, do you think that some of those other levers will start to show up within Amazon at some point?
I've been doing Google ads for maybe 15 years and Amazon ads for about 12 years or so. And it really does seem like Amazon is heavily inspired by Google. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them begin to incorporate the thing. The thing that I always say, that Amazon seems very siloed. Like there's different metrics for different ad types, which it makes sense. But the thing that I really like is more synchronicity among all the different campaign types on Amazon. So I wish there were similar capabilities. I wish match types behaved the same way on all these campaign types. So to answer your question, that is something. So we might get some of that audience-based bidding and some of that device-based bidding and some of that geography-based bidding, but we might not get it for all campaign types at once.
Yep. It may show up within their DSP or something else, and not necessarily within the internal ad engine.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to Prime Day, right? Because Amazon's essentially so big that they were able to sort of define a day that even folks outside of Amazon are starting to take notice of how do I deal with it strategically. And for folks who have a replenishable product like Truth Nutrition, a nutraceutical brand I own, people replenish, right? I mean, they use it up. And certainly marketers in those scenarios have sort of this fear, like, okay, well, if I'm overly aggressive on Prime Day and I'm going to be reducing my margins for Prime Day, am I just cannibalizing future sales because people buy 3 months worth, right?
Yeah.
But if I sit it out and say I want to preserve margin, well, that's not
Yeah.
strategic either. So how do you advise marketers to deal with that sort of tension on what to do during Prime Day?
You know, at first, 5 years ago, everyone would have said the same thing. And what has evolved is that different brands, depending on their goals, will take a different approach to Prime Day. Some brands will very much sit it out and they say, I'm not going to touch my campaigns. I'm not going to do anything special. There's not going to be any discounts. And I'm just going to get better profitability during those days because people will be buying more ferociously than normal anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the other end of the spectrum, you get people that step on the gas the entire week. They do coupons throughout the entire week, days before and after Prime Day, to really just capture all of that energy for that week. So you really see both. And there are brands, when you look at the numbers, who go really aggressively. They boosted profitability, even though they went more aggressive because, yes, they're selling a slightly less. You also get brands that increase their pricing during that time frame and then give a discount back to what it normally is. So there's a lot of things that people do, and I really think it's a really complicated question that really does depend on brands. I'll try to give some sort of generalities here. I do think generally you do want to go a bit harder during Prime. It's hard to deny that there's generally an average brand can see a doubling of sales during those 2 days. So it's hard not to go after those. And the conversion rate is generally better on those days too. So I think on Prime Day, people are generally of the advantage if they go in and they increase their budgets, 30, 40, 50% at least. And they go in and they increase their bids for their very, very best keywords, their top 10% of keywords. I think generally you'll come out ahead really nicely. I think that it can apply to most brands. And then I think brands that really want to go aggressive, brands that generally have good margins, can do things like go more aggressive in the days leading up to it. In the days leading up to it, that is where you will lose the most margin. You generally see a lot of clicks without a lot of sales. ACoS goes from a sort of average 31% up to about a 35% during those 2 days before, because people are clicking, they're seeing what's going to be on sale, they're seeing what they want, they're adding it to cart. And that actually leads to, part of the big boost on those days was the research that they did ahead of time. That I think people can decide to stay in or out of. And then, of course, there's also people that coupon even after Prime Day to sort of catch the lagging tail. And I've seen that work really successful too, where you continue to step on the gas even afterwards, as most other people are pulling back. You sort of step on the gas a little bit longer, and you pick up a lot of extra sales on the 48 hours after Prime Day. So it really does depend on the brand's goals, what their financial situation is, what their margins are typically, what their desire to do during this time frame. But there's a lot that you can do. And there's brands who are sort of feeling confident in doing nothing at all and just sort of taking the higher sales percentage and the better margins during that time frame. So it's a complicated question, as you can see.
Yeah. Well, if it's good that it's complicated, right? Because that leaves professionals like you and I things to do.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
So you talked about couponing, but Amazon has a lot of different promotions that are available, right? Flash sales and coupons and promotions and even single-use coupons, which I don't think are that heavily used, but are really sort of potentially fun, although they're not executed in the way I would prefer to see them executed on within FBA. So what are some underused strategies, promotional strategies that you think can be deployed for brands?
Big time. So I think this is relatively new, but brand tailored promotions are a really interesting play on couponing. So brand tailored promotions essentially allow you to tailor a promotion to a certain audience. So we already mentioned on this podcast audience-based targeting, and this is sort of a step in that direction where you can say, hey, for my very, very best purchasers, my top quartile people who are buying my products. Let me go ahead and serve a discount for them. That's going to be different than the discount I give my lagging customers, the people who are, a little bit more checked out. Let me give them a bigger discount to try to really incentivize them to purchase and sort of win them back. So I think brand tailored promotions are a really exciting component in the right direction of how do I customize my marketing on Amazon for different audiences. And that's probably been my favorite one over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, price differentiation for CPG companies has been around ever since they used to call FSIs, freestanding inserts, or coupons on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday that some people would only buy Tide when it was on sale, right?
Right.
They wouldn't buy it any other time, and it was a way of
Yeah.
price differentiating. It wasn't perfect. It was far from perfect because it would train certain people only to buy when it
Yeah.
was on sale. So I guess you have to be really careful when you do use promotions, that if you overuse them, you could potentially train your customers to expect promotions.
Right.
Any thoughts on that?
I think on Amazon, people are incredibly price sensitive, much more so than if they're looking at a standalone website where you sort of are more in control of their experience. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of brands, that people are really price sensitive on Amazon. So even something as simple as like price optimization, where you change it a dollar up or down for your price, sometimes a dollar up or down has massive impact. Um, I have a story there. There was a company selling a product that was more premium. It was probably 3 or 4 times the average price for this product category. And they had an incredibly low ACoS. So their ROAS was very, very high. People would see it and buy it in droves if they clicked on it. The big thing there is if they clicked on it. Because of that high price, their sales volume was probably a tenth of the lower price competitors. And they never broke into a high organic rank. It was really expensive for them if they wanted to appear in a first advertising slot, because they would be served in these high advertising spots and no one would click. And they were never able to break into a high organic rank because their price was so high. In that scenario, it's really helpful for brands. The most successful brands on Amazon are generally ones that are launching new products periodically. So for that high priced company, they could be really benefited by creating maybe a lower priced version of their product to sort of capture some of that more price sensitive audience. So people do buy more premium products on Amazon for sure, but the overwhelming majority of sales, I believe, are going to go towards more price sensitive customers for sure.
Do you recommend that in cases like that, that people have Amazon specific SKUs that are different than what they might have in their Shopify stores or the Magento stores?
Yeah, that's a really big question. I do know companies that do this and do, fantastic because of that reason. So it's possible that, for many reasons, it could be some logistics, like it just doesn't make sense to ship this particular thing in this particular way. And so that's one reason. And then in terms of the, price sensitivity or learnings that they have, I would say generally, what's going to be good on one platform is probably going to be good for customers in general. And again, there's lots of brand nuance there. If you are a more premium brand, maybe it truly doesn't make sense to have a lower priced product. So I think it's a branding question more than anything. But from, there's sort of companies that almost play Moneyball, which is going to be like, what's the most profitable move I can make? For them, I would say for sure.
Yeah. So I'm sure that your team gets an opportunity to see campaigns that have never been touched before, and see some common mistakes. So when a campaign is brought over into your platform, and it's time to start optimizing, are there any common mistakes that people tend to make?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting component, and this is true of all PPC, pay-per-click marketing, which is knowing when to segment things and knowing when to group things. What I mean by that is, if you have 10 products in a campaign, those 10 products are going to share the same bids. They're going to share the same budgets. And I think a super common problem on Amazon is those 10 products might have dramatically different conversion rates. They might have different pricing. They might be, more some of those product variations might be more specific and might be less popular. So I think that knowing when to sort of group things together versus when to split them apart is a really nuanced skill. And all I can say to people is, like, when you look at your campaigns, if you have keywords that are incredibly different, if you have products that are behaving incredibly different, meaning you look at one and it has 75 orders this week, and you look at another one, whether it be keywords or targets or products, and it only has one order this week, they likely should not be in the same campaign. So I think getting creative with campaign structure allows you to fine tune things in a way that you cannot if all these things are grouped together.
Yeah, that's a common problem in Google campaigns
Yep.
as well. So the campaign structure can make a huge difference. I don't know if the part of the driver in Amazon is similar to the quality score issue in Google. Like sometimes by just changing your ad groups up, you essentially you can change up your quality score, which has ripple effects throughout
Big
the
time.
entire efficiency. So yeah, I guess people should immediately take a look at their campaign structures and see if there's opportunities there.
Big time.
I noticed you guys have best practices courses that probably include, underscoring some of the best practices like campaign structure. Are there other online resources that you think, are particularly good besides your own internal courses, YouTube channels or blogs or what?
Yeah. So I really like, there's a community that I'm a part of, which is actually Core Community. And it's just a lot of high level, pre-screened Amazon marketers. So like there's no spam or anything like that in there. So I really like, I attend that call every Wednesday. So it's a group call where you can sort of say, like, hey, has anyone used brand tailored promotions? How are you using them? Like, what am I doing wrong? Or what's the first one I should do? So I think like the next step up from content is sort of having people to talk about the content with. So I'd like to get intimate in that regard. So I think finding a good community to sort of talk about this is really nice. And Core is like pre-screened. So like there's no spammers or, self-promoters there.
Right.
Yeah.
So what has you excited about the next year? I mean, there's been rumors of an upcoming recession, any month now, but for the most part, we really haven't seen it in e-com. So, curious what's got you excited either on the product roadmap or just in general?
So from a strategic perspective, I am noticing a trend of people are becoming a little bit more price sensitive on Amazon. And it's almost like seeing the huge Prime Day spike, I think is almost like indicative of that. And there's always been Prime Day spikes, but I think the fact that some people are seeing some suppressed sales, but then it spikes on Prime Day or it spikes when they have a promotion, I think is a general strategic thing to think about for brands on Amazon. In terms of product features, I'm really excited to, we update our bidding algorithm pretty regularly, finding new pockets of studying, like, hey, why did it do this? Like maybe it should have done something different. I'm excited to sort of incorporate day parting into that component. I'm excited to sort of continue the link between PPC on Amazon and SEO on Amazon. So drawing some correlations between, hey, I got, 10 orders at a 20% ACoS, but then I stepped on the gas and I got 50 orders at a 50% ACoS. Did that lead to a ranking increase? Did that lead to a net revenue increase? Those are questions that I am really excited to begin to play with because it can really piece together the PPC and SEO relationship on Amazon.
Great. Well, I look forward to continuing to watch your progress as you roll out new versions. And thanks so much for joining me.
Kevin, it was exceptional. Thank you.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in the Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.